Thanks for tuning in at Brackeys.
Hello everyone and welcome to the third video in how to program in C#. Today we are going to be making a simple calculator as I explain things such as declaring variables, data types, and variable initialization. So that's super awesome, and we're going to lay the foundation today of pretty much every single program that you're ever going to write. Cool, so let's just get started by opening up Xamarin Studio. And as you can see, I've written out the challenge from the last videos. Let's just quickly go through this. I asked you to print out your name and age, then await some user input, then print out your favorite color, and then again wait some user input. So this is done by first making a console.writeLine saying that my name is Asbjørn and I am 17 years old. Then I'm just telling the user here to press the spacebar to continue. Then I'm awaiting for a key. This can be any key, but it looks prettier with the spacebar. And then we write out the favorite color. And before that, I've put a \n. And in the last video, I kept saying reverse backslash. It's of course just backslash or reverse dash if you want, which is going to make a new line. So we're just going to put some more space between them. And then we're going to await some user input again. So let's just try and run this program. You can see it says my name and my age, and it says press space to continue. Once I do that, my favorite color appears. Cool. So let me just go ahead and delete that for now because we're not going to be needing that. I just wanted to show you how things are done. Again, if you don't want to wait for the next video to complete a challenge, or if there's just something you can't get to work, just please feel free to ask a question over at forum.brackeys.com. There are so many people ready to answer your questions, and I'm always here too. So it's the best place to get answers. Cool. So let's go ahead and make our calculator. So what are we going to be needing? Well, for a calculator, we need to store some user input. So far, we've only been waiting for it and then not really used the user input for anything other than to wait for it. So now we are just going to try and store this in a box, basically what we call a variable. So what variables are basically containers that you can put information and then access later, or maybe even change. I know this all sounds very abstract because these boxes come in different shapes, and if the value you're trying to put in the box doesn't have the same shape, it's going to throw an error. And that's where data types come in. So I'm going to explain that in a sec. First, let me just show you the syntax for creating a variable. So for now, we're just going to type var, and then we're going to type the name of the variable. And in our case, this is going to be num1 for number 1, but this can be anything you want, as long as it doesn't start with a number, I'm pretty sure. And you can remember also that it's that capitalization is important. It's case sensitive. And then we can simply type what we want this value to be. So we could type here, maybe we want this to start out at 10. This is where we could also put some user input instead if we want the user to define what the variable is equal to. But we actually don't have to give it a number from the beginning. This line here alone is not valid. And the reason why is because when we type var, it's just going to predict what type of variable it's going to be depending on what we equal it to. So if we equal it to 10, it knows that it's a number without decimal points. And that is what we in programming call an int or an integer. So the var sign here basically just says that we don't want to tell it what the type is. We just want it to find out itself once we initialize it. But that's not really good programming practice because that can throw lots of problems and it makes code harder to read. This is what is called implicit variable declaration. What we can also do is what's called explicit variable declaration, which is good to just get used to from the start. And that basically means that instead of typing var, we just directly type the type of variables that we want to declare. So let's say that we want to make a number, but we don't already know that this is gonna what this is gonna be equal to. Well, then we can simply type int for number without decimal points, and then we can delete this, and now it's actually completely valid. This is just the variable declaration. Then later we can take this num1 and we can equal it to, let's say, 20. And this is completely fine. Here we declare the variable and here we initialize it. I just want you to get familiar with some of these terms because I'm going to be using them a lot, and just try and remember them for now, and then later you can maybe use them on your own. So we're going to make a number1, but there are also other types of variables. This here, the data type, comes in many different shapes and forms. We also have what is called a float, which is basically a decimal point number. So we are just going to call this decimal point. And we're going to equal this to, let's say, 10.4. So that's what you do with floats. You do also sometimes see what is called a double, and that's basically just a float but with more precision. Then we also have a see here, we also have a bool, which is short for Boolean, and that's basically a variable that can either be true or false. Just like you might know that computers are built up around zeros and ones. This value is basically the same, but instead of calling it 0 and 1, we just call it true and false. So this is just true or false, and it's going to be equal to true in this case. Then at last we have what is called a string. This is a string, and this is basically used for characters, sentences, or words. If it's just one single character you need to store, you can type char instead, but we are just going to be using string most of the time. So this could be a sentence, and it's equal to hello world. So that's some examples for the different data types and their usage points. Now let's get actually into how we can use this to create our calculator. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to declare the first value. Then we're going to declare another one called number2. And now we're going to tell the user that he should type some number. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to have the user type a number for number 1. And then we are going to have him type a number for number 2. And we're going to multiply them and print out the answer. So now we've declared the two variables. We can now initialize them using some user input. So we're going to type console.writeLine. Actually, let's just do write. And I'm going to show you why just in a sec here. So let's do console.write. And let's type a number to be multiplied. Like this. And the reason why we use console.write instead of writeLine is because then we can have the number that is typed on the same line. So when we then do console.readLine, here, that number is going to appear right after this sentence. But right now when we run the program, you can see that we can type in a number and hit enter, and it just closes. And it says here that the variable number 1 is declared but never used. And the same with number 2. And that's because we have to actually tell it that we want the number 1 to equal this console.readLine. So we're going to say number 1 equals console.readLine. But this is going to throw us an error because the computer assumes that the console.readLine is a string. Remember what a string is? A string is basically a sentence. It's a series of characters. And it does that because it can both be a string or just a number or a float. It can be many types of variables inside of a string. So what we need to do is we need to convert this into a number. We need to tell it that we are expecting a number here and not a string. So to do this, we use the convert function. So we can type convert dot to int. And you can see that there are multiple different types of ints here. And just like we have float and double, there are multiple types of ints for precision, basically how long the integer, the number is going to be. And the default one is just 32. So we're just going to type toInt 32. And then we're going to wrap this console.readline in parentheses. So now, and I know this was a lot, now we've actually gone ahead and declared two variables. We've written out something to the console. We've stored the user input in the first value by converting it to a number from a string. So I know this was probably quite a lot, but if you can just at least type after me in the beginning here, then you might go ahead and understand it fully later. So when we now go ahead and hit play, we're not going to see anything change. We can go ahead and type 230. We're not going to see anything change, but we don't get this error up here. And we can now do things with this value here, like double it or multiply it with another value, which we're going to go ahead and do. So now we're just going to do a console.write again. And we're going to say type another number. Like this. And then we're going to say that number 2 equals convert.toInt 32. And inside of this, we're going to type console.readline, just like the line up here. Oops. You need to put open and close parentheses after the console.readline, because remember, that is a method. And whenever we call a method, we need parentheses. Cool. So now we should see this error here disappear also, this warning. And we can go ahead and do something with these numbers. And what we can do is actually really simple. And you can get creative with this. We can say console.writeLine. And we can say the result is like this. And then we do plus num1 times, and simply use the star symbol here, num2. And when we close this off and hit play, type a number to be multiplied. I'm going to do 25. Type another number. I'm going to do 2. And now it says very quickly that the number is 50. But remember, again, we always have to wait user input before the console closes on Windows. So we're going to do console.read key here so that it won't just quickly close on us. And now we can run through this, and I promise you it will work this time. We can say 30 times maybe 5 is 150. So there you go. You've actually now made your first calculator, your first valid program that the user can now interact with. So that was it on variables and how we use them and how to create basic functionality in a program. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a second challenge here because so many of you loved the last one. So what I want you to do till next time is I want you to write a program that will allow the user to divide two numbers. And I'm just going to tell you that the division operator is a dash. So I want you to write a program where the user can divide two numbers. And whenever you print the result, I want you to print out not only the result, but also the two numbers that the user put in. Meaning that you should have a sentence that says, this number divided by this number is equal to, and then the result. So I'm going to go ahead and let you figure out how you can do that, and then I'm going to show you in the next video should you find it difficult or anything. I know that this is all very new, but I promise you that this almost becomes like a second language if you just practice it enough. It's hard for everyone in the beginning, but it won't stay that way. Cool, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.